So what I wanted to do is just give you a little idea of what my area for my chickens looks like. I talked about it during my presentation, but I thought, why not give you just a little video tour so you can see what I've done with my chickens. Everybody does different things. The first thing I wanted to show you is just my yard in general. This is the area where they free range during the summer, and they have been free ranging, now, but now that it's getting colder, they spend more time inside. I had a fence put up, which I was going to do anyway because of the deer in my garden, but it worked out good because I got chickens. This is my part of my garden for, obviously right now, it's mulched for winter, but in the summertime they spent tons of time in there. I had some squash growing, and I had some sorghum and corn, and there were some days where I couldn't find them. I'd look and I'd see all this dust coming up from the squash because they were dust bathing in there. They loved it in there. That's where they hung out most of the summer, even when it was hot too, because it could get them out of the sun. So they have plenty of room to roam around. This is the kennel. Inside the kennel is where I keep my coop. This is a 12-foot by 12-foot dog kennel, which I got lucky. My sister gave to me for free, so that worked out really nice. We did have to put a roof on the top. Originally, I had just some tarps stringed across the top, but I found out that when it rains, it bows down, and it actually started to tilt the coop. So some good friends of mine helped me out, and we installed this roof so that the rain and snow will just come right off of it. I do have some clear tarps on the inside here so that the sun can come in, and I do have them here too, but I also put some sheets up here just to give them a little privacy from the road. Once we go inside, you'll be able to see better, but I just use clothespins to attach some sheets to kind of cover the gaps where the tarps end. One thing I did want to just point out here is this is actually where the top of the kennel ends, and then the roof is angled like that, and this was wide open. But what I found out is when it rained, or if it's when it snows, rain would get inside and it would get really damp on the sides inside. And one thing you want to really make sure is you keep it dry in there, because dampness, that's when you get your bacteria growing. So I did put a sheet up on both sides where it's up like this, and then there's just a little gap on the top for ventilation, which obviously they'll get ventilation through the sheets because they're not, going to stop all the air. But you want your ventilation at the top. And I can tell when I come in the morning that when the sun's shining in, you'll actually see some steam on the tarp, so you know that it's warmer inside the kennel than it is on the outside. Oh, and one thing I also wanted to point out is with my fence. Because you always want to be worried about predators, I do occasionally just do a check where I walk the fence and make sure nothing's been digging around. I look for something digging holes, and I do that also with the kennel, which inside I do have some bricks laid down, just anything that I can help deter something get in. And in the back here I have a wood fence. The reason I put the wood part up was because the owner of these apartments had asked that when I got chickens, if I would just make it a little less visible that there's chickens there. So back here I have a wood fence, and there's on the outside of it, there's some hardware cloth that will also come down to try to prevent predators. So far I haven't noticed anything trying to get in, but I heard winter is the time to worry because that's when things are more hungry. So I'm gonna have to make sure in the winter that I'm just checking a little more often. So that's why I'm glad I have the fence, the kennel, and the coop. I've got three ways of protection for the chickens. So now I'll take you inside and we'll take a look inside the kennel. Okay, so here we are inside of the kennel, and I'm just going to kind of take you around the perimeter and show you the different things I have in here, including the chickens. Over here I have their water station, and this metal thing, which I did just clean a few days ago, but as you can see, chickens are really messy. This is a warmer. It kicks in if the temperature goes below 35 degrees. So it keeps the water from freezing. And there have been some mornings where I've come in and the water's like a lukewarm because it was on in the night. In the morning when I come in, I also add just some warm water from the faucet just to warm it up. And then I take some food in here and I put some warm water and make it like a warm mash for them, just to warm their tummies for when they get up. This is where I had their food and their yogurt, which I talked about in the presentation about getting them their probiotics. They are really messy when they eat, and for some reason they like to poop around where they eat. So it's really important. I did clean this, but they are messy eaters. So it's really important to try to keep it clean. And then over here is where they're hanging out, and it looks like they're doing some pecking and maybe even a little dust bathing. So this big one here is Clucker. I named them all by the sounds they make. So this is Clucker. And then this one here is Squeaky Pants because she tends to squeak a lot. And then this one here is chicken, because she actually has more of a chicken sound. So she was the one that was egg bound that I talked about in the presentation. So, but they're usually, you know, they'll spend their time on the ground looking for bugs, dust bathing, that sort of thing. This is, you can see that clear tarp I have here. It's really nice in the morning because this faces the east and the sun comes up in the east. So a lot of times in the morning, they'll go and they'll hang out along right around here or right around over here. You can see a spot where they usually dust bathe. The bales of straw I bought, they're eventually going to be distributed throughout the winter for insulation. I read on a blog that straw is one of the better things to use because it's warm. Originally I had a third bale that I spread out all around the ground, and they didn't seem to really want to walk around in it. They were spending most of their time under here. So what I did is I raked a lot of it up to the corner over here, and they seem to like to actually be on the ground more. So that's why I gave them those spots on the ground, and I made them over by where the sun comes in. And this is their coop. It's pretty small. It's basically just for laying eggs and to put them in at night. During the summer they roosted up here, but then once it started getting colder and they were molting and some of them had some bare spots, I got really nervous about them being too cold, so I started putting them in at night. And then after a few nights of doing it, they went in themselves. I think it's probably because I put some blankets up here. For insulation for the coop, I put some cardboard just around some spots. I read that in a blog. I've got some blankets just covering the top layers, and I have some carpeting under here with some newspaper to try to keep any heat from getting out. I have a thermometer inside of the coop somewhere, but I can't find it because it's mixed inside the straw. But the first few days I had it in there, usually the coop was about 10 degrees warmer on the inside than it was outside in the mornings. So I think they'll be okay for the winter, and it's a cold hardy breed, so they should be fine. And then this is my chicken purse. That's just a little decoration for them. Something for them to aspire to. I also have the clear tarp over here that's supposed to let the sun in from the south. It's a little hard because of the fencing there, but they do get sun, and it actually tends to shine right on the coop, which is nice to warm it up. And then here I have some leaves from the garden because they love digging in leaves. Underneath you can see some of their, I have some shredded pine wood bedding, which is also inside the coop underneath the straw. They like to play in there and look for bugs. So throughout the winter I'll basically be throwing more leaves in here for them if I can, you know, depending upon, I have some bags of leaves in the garage. Adding more straw, but like I said, I will be leaving some bare spots for them because they do like to be on the ground. So as you can see, one of them's dust bathing right now, and they tend to get along really good. They do have their little tiffs during mealtime because there definitely is a pecking order. And Chicken, which is the one over here, she seems to be the top of the pecking order. So a lot of times she eats first, and then if anyone tries to eat when she's trying to eat, sometimes they get pecked at. So, but they do spend, you know, their days together. They dust bathe together and hang out. So hopefully you can maybe hear them a little bit too, hear their sounds. Hi. Yeah. How are you doing today? So they know they're on camera, so I think they're a little camera shy. The one last thing I wanted to show you, and I don't know how good we'll be able to get the camera in here, is I just wanted to show you inside of the coop a little bit. There is two roosting poles, which I find at night when I go to shut the door on them, they're usually just all three laying in there, and it's actually really cute. They all curl up. And then in the back here is their nesting boxes. They're not laying eggs right now because they were going through their molt, which they won't usually lay eggs for, and now they're actually not getting enough light. If I wanted them to lay eggs, I would have to get artificial light in here because they need the 16 hours. But after the one was egg bound, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give them a break. So I'm gonna give them a break for the winter. If they don't lay eggs, that's fine. Once we start getting more steady light in the spring, they'll start laying again. So the only time they're really in here is at night. In the morning I let them out, usually about 7 o'clock. They've been going in at about 5 now that we just had daylight savings time. So they're in there for 14 hours. So the first thing they do when they get up is eat, and they pretty much kind of munch all day. So I try to make sure I keep a variety of different foods out for them and let them, I leave the door open so they can roam around outside if they want to. Usually in the evening they go out there. So this is my setup. Maybe it'll give you some good ideas. Like I said, everyone's different. You could go look at 10 different, people with chickens, and they're all going to have different setups. But this is how I've done mine, and it seems to work. So, okay, thank you.